Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Ni Muhammad Haikal bin Ni Muhammad Shukri from Group 5 of EM1110 4K, and my others two member is Muhammad Zakwan bin Zainul Arifin and Nur Syamimi bin Muhammad Nazir. Today our group will present the process of manufacturing of ceramic teapot. The most suitable process for manufacturing ceramic teapot is slip casting. Slip casting is a method used to make complex shape ceramics without having to melt them. Slip is a liquid suspension of ceramic particles in water, while plaster is a light, fragile, porous material often used in construction and art. Mold is the shape cavity which is used to form another material into the desired shape. Step number 1. First, we have to choose small pot to create cavity for the slip cast in the mold. Second, we have to set out the plastic or aluminium container that you will use to pour the plaster into. We can add some lubricants to reduce the friction of the surface. Number 3, make your plaster for the mold by mixing water and plaster of Paris powder with 3 to 4 weight ratio. Number 4, place the pot or figurine open and down in the tray. Carefully pour the plaster into the tray around the figurine and allow the mold to dry at room temperature for 30 to 45 minutes. Number 5, remove the mold from the trays and remove the figurine from the mold and place under heat lamp or in a sunny window for 2 or 3 days. Step number 2 is slaking process. Slaking process is a process transforming your clay into slip. So use the same type of clay so that it can be successfully fired at the same temperature. Now, the process of slaking process is number 1, measure the quantity of the clay and water you need and add them into the large bucket, leaving them to slake for 24 hours and to let the clay and the water dissolve it perfectly. Number 2, the clay should be bone dry for this process. After that, the mixture will need to be stirred gently using a large stick to create the ideal consistency. Number 3, use drill with a mixing attachment to make sure that the slip is smooth. The slip must have a correct clay to water ratio, and a good ratio to work with is normally 1 to 80. Number 4, we also can add few drop of sodium silicate to disperse in the sodium silicate can disperse the particle in the slip, so less water is required to make the slip fluid. Step number 3 is pouring slip into mold. After our slip is done, carefully pour the slip into the cavity of the mold and the plaster of Paris. After we pour the slip, the plaster of Paris will start absorb the water from the clay, and the drying process of the clay will begin. The method to pour is we have to aim at the center of the mold and fill it very slowly, especially at the end, to avoid formation of pores. Now, and lastly, once the clay has started to dry to suitable thickness, usually about 10 minutes, but it depends on the size of the mold. So the bigger the size, the longer the time it takes. Then we can pour out the excess of clay clips of the clay slip. Step number 4, draining the mold. There is a knack to pouring out the clay slip, and you will need to do it very carefully, and you will need to have 2 pieces of wood and put it above the bucket to rest the plaster of Paris mold on. Upside down, put it upside down so the slip will pause evenly, and the excess slip we can save it and it can be used for making new pottery. And after finish draining the slip, remove the part from the mold and slide off any excess clay from the top of the mold. Then let the piece sit overnight to ensure that it is dry. So repeat step 1 until 4 for other part of ceramic teapot. Step number 5, refining the design of the teapot. After all of the part of the teapot is already finished, so we proceed with assembling and make adjustment the other part by manually, such as we have decoration at the body before drying, we have make hole for the strainer and join the strainer. Number 3, we have trimming the base of the teapot, and number 4, we have join knob to lid.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zakwan bin Zainul Arifin. Number matrix 2019411266 and group J4 EM 1104K. For my part, I will explain next step for process flow. Step 6, finishing. Join a handle and spout to body of a teapot. Next, fit a tip of spout and make a hole to make sure the water can come out of the teapot. Then do a cleaning or polishing to make sure the surface of teapot is smooth. Next, drain the teapot to make sure the teapot become dry. Next, do a firing in the kiln. The temperature in kiln must reach about 1100 degrees. And last step, step 7, checking. Make sure the teapot in good condition and ready to use. Safety procedure for the slip casting process. First, clay storage and mixing should take place in a separate room. Second, all clay mixers should be equipped with local exhaust ventilation to remove fine dust particles from the air. Third, make sure the floor is always dry and clean. Fourth, double check with the electrician to make sure that electric kiln is properly grounded. And lastly, wear glove and goggles when do a process.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Nur Shamimi binti Muhammad Nazir. I am from class J4EM1104K. For this part, I will explain about the advantages and disadvantages of slip casting manufacturing process. Moreover, I will also briefly explain 3 possible defects that could be happen during the fabrication of the given product. As shown in the slide, there are 2 advantages of this manufacturing process. Number 1 is a wide variety of complex shapes can be produced that could not be produced using another conventional methods. Number 2 is this manufacturing process allows us to produce a lot of homogeneous clay pieces without compromising their shapes. In contrast, there are three disadvantages of this manufacturing process. Number one, the capital cost and investment for each new product shape and corresponding molds is high. Number two, the molds that are used have low toughness, so they can fracture easily. Therefore, a large mold inventory should be maintained to ensure a constant production rate. Number three, this manufacturing process has a lower dimensional precision compared to another conventional methods. Many possible defects could be happen during the fabrication of the given product. Number one is slip gelling in the mold. Gelling means here the slip becoming too thick in the mold so that excess slip cannot be poured out. The cause of this defect is under-deflocculated slip. In order to prevent this defect, we must adjust the slip batch by adding more sodium silicate in very small amount. The second possible defect is pinhole on the surface of the ceramic teapot. This is due to the trapped air bubbles in the slip. Bubble in the slip occurs if the slip is mixed at too high speed. This can be prevented if slower mixing speed is used. The third possible defect is cracking in the mold. As we can see, there are few cracks on the surface of the ceramic teapot. Usually, this happens due to the greenware is allowed to remain in the mold for too long time. Therefore, make sure you check the casting process. Are you leaving the greenware in the mold for too long time after draining it? It should be removed as soon as it is stiff enough to be handled without damage.